Yes, everybody, welcome back. This is 5 things that we learned. Do you know what? One thing that we learned this season is that you lot love the 5 things we learned, don't you? So I'm going to keep trying to do them. I think there's loads of things that we can discuss about players, managers, the club, all sorts of shit from transfers to development and all that lot. And that includes today, something that we thought we knew, but maybe we could quantify exactly what we know about him. So this is 5 things that we learned about Marcus Rashford this season. Number 1, best on the left. This season, Marcus has played most of his football on the left wing or in the left wing position, scoring 19 goals and assisting 5. I think most people would probably agree that the worst performances from Marcus came when Tony Marshall was injured and he was asked to be played down the middle. Some of the reasons for those poor performances, I think the lack of support and good players around him is probably one factor. I think there's still probably some sort of a role Marcus could fill down the middle, but he's definitely been better this season for us on that left-hand side. Marcus was well on track to have his first 20-plus goal season, and who knows, with a little bit of luck, and you have to consider what this kid's done in his history. From when he made his debut back in February 2016, you have to look at what he's achieved in the team and what he's gone on to go and do. And what you can say about Marcus is, come the big game, cometh the hour, cometh Marcus Rashford. From the goal against West Ham in the FA Cup, the goal against Celta Vigo in the Europa League, finishing Di Michele's in the Manchester Derby, a brace against Liverpool, he scores in big games. And if the season was allowed to continue, United would have finished what we had to do in the league, and we would probably have been having finals and semi-finals in both the Europa and the FA Cup this season. Marcus Rashford delivers in those. I think he's probably due to start training on grass and having a kick around about now. So he was probably 2 or 3 weeks away from fitness at tops, which means that he probably would have got 4 weeks in. I still think he would have scored a few goals. If he hadn't have got injured, he missed 6 games already, and there's 18 games in theory left for United to play. So that's 24 games that he could have played. I don't think he'd have got in the 20s. I think Marcus could have got 30 goals this season. And I don't think that's being crazy. I actually think in 24 games, could he have scored 11 goals? Knowing the sort of player that he is, looking at some of the teams, especially the LASK game, if he'd have played, do you think he'd have scored? Do you think he'd have scored a couple? He might have scored a couple. We'd have had the home game against them to play. There's the Tranmere game. There's a lot of games that Marcus has missed while he's been out. And I'm sure that he could have picked up 11 goals in 24 games. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely certain of it. Not only going on and having his best season, but absolutely obliterating his best season. He's been involved in a goal every 97 minutes when he's played this year. So you would have to say, going off that, if he played 90 minutes in all of those games, he's looking at getting conservatively 17 goals. Giddy, he might have got 19 goals, 20 goals. Which would have put him on course to just under 40 goals, which would have put it as the best return since Cristiano Ronaldo, which is nuts. Because if you'd have said that at the start of the season, if you'd have said that watching him at the start of the season, people would have gone, what the fuck are you sniffing? But that's what he's gone on and done, and those are the stats that you can only extrapolate what he's done. You're not projecting stuff that might happen, even though I'm saying, remember how good he is in those big games. Just literally take what he's done this season all to date with a goal contribution every 97 minutes. Marcus would have easily have pushed on past 30 and would have been deep into the 30s with a little bit of luck. That's what we're doing. With Jadon Sancho being rumoured to come in and sit in the hole on the right-hand side that we've got, Marcus on the left, I think that sets up a very balanced Manchester United attack. 2 players that can go around the outside if you ask them to. 2 players that are going to be very comfortable coming inside and getting shots off themselves. That is deadly. It doesn't matter who plays down the middle. You've got the obviously very talented Martial. You've got Mason Greenwood. You've got Ighalo. And there's obviously rumours that Solskjaer's looking elsewhere. He obviously really likes Haaland. But setting that up with the likes of Bruno and, for the time being, I guess, Paul Pogba, that sets up a very, very tasty, very, very capable attack. I think it leaves us a lot of excitement for when football does eventually return. Number 2, clinical finisher. Now, Marcus Rashford in previous years has been a little bit wasteful, a little bit fanciful with some of the long-range shots that he's had, and the Ronaldo comparisons don't stop there. Last season, he averaged a goal every 8.4 shots across all competitions. Spookily, that's exactly what Cristiano Ronaldo averaged at Juventus. Interesting, right? The reason for that is twofold, I think. One, Ronaldo has a lot of shots. Ronaldo shoots from better range, but he has a lot of shots. He creates a lot of shots. He also is given a lot of shots. Marcus was taking a lot of shots. Wasn't particularly having that many shots. And obviously, if he's got the same strike rate as Ronaldo, he came nowhere near Ronaldo in terms of goal rate. Ronaldo's having way more opportunities. But the amount of goals scored per those opportunities, identical to Marcus Rashford. This season, Marcus Rashford is down more around about the 5 shots, which isn't deadly. It's not dead-eye. An absolute dead-eye finisher is someone that's doing it in around about 4. So there's still a bit of a way to go, but he's getting there. Mason Greenwood's in around about the 4 sort of range. Mason's actually pulling out 4.2 shots per goal, which is twice as clinical as what we saw from Marcus last season. This season, Marcus is down at 5.2 shots per goal, giving him an 18.9% conversion rate, which is actually just marginally better than what Tony Marshall's getting at 5.4%. This is excellent from all of them. Tony's is a little bit worse than it was. Last season, Tony was down at about the 4.5 sort of range. As a bit of a guide, Raheem Sterling's up around like the 5.6 sort of range. Harry Kane is up around about the 5.8 kind of range. The most clinical strikers that you'll find in the league, generally someone like Aguero, and actually last season it was Sadio Mane, who I think was like 3.8 to 4 sort of shots per goal. He was fantastic, and most of the shots he was taking were right inside the 18-yard box, which is why it really brings his rate up. He's not taking any wasteful shots whatsoever, and that's why he was Golden Boot last season. I would love to see United work on this. I mean, Mason's is frightening, and I actually think that's going to improve. That really shows how good he is. Basically, you give the guy 4 shots in a game, he's scoring. Somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo, the season before he had his absolute breakout season, he was having nearly 11 shots per game. Put it this way, if Mason was given the opportunities Cristiano Ronaldo was in 2005-06 season, Mason could have scored 100 goals for United. Okay. That's how clinical he is. Now, obviously, there's differences in there, but just as a highlight, that's how deadly Mason is compared to how Ronaldo is. Now, obviously, there's the ability to get into some of those places that Ronaldo could and maybe Mason can't. You're obviously playing against different teams, different players, different skill sets. All that sort of stuff makes it. I'm just trying to illustrate the point. Mason has got very good decision-making in front of goal, and he's fucking absolutely lethal and deadly on all of the above. He's very good with his shot selection. His finishing's fantastic. But this isn't about Mason. This is about Marcus. And he's had a massive, almost 40% improvement on his shot selection and conversion rate. So he's absolutely killing it this season. Rashford has been talking about Solskjaer's impact on his finishing. He's saying, he wants to make sure I'm getting into the back post or getting across my marker. There's little small things, and that's why I've been getting more goals. Number 3, motivated to be the best. Since his injury, Marcus Rashford has been absolutely committed to his recovery, and you can see it in all of the things that he's doing on social media and all of the ways that he's talking, because he's actually given more interviews, I think, in the last couple of months than he's given throughout the entirety of his career. He seems to have a real tunnel vision about making himself a better footballer. He's interested in the analytical side of the game. He's interested in the technical side of the game. He's obsessed. From people close to him, the word on the street is he's fucking a bit boring. And he's dedicated. And I think much in the same way as what we saw with Cristiano Ronaldo, that sort of internal fire and that sort of internal drive can elevate you. Paddy Evra gives you stories about going round to his house. If he challenges you to a game of ping pong, don't fucking bother, because he's going to make this the most desperate thing. He wanted to be first into training. And I think there's a story about Ronaldo when he always used to notice, Carlos Tevez always used to notice Ronaldo was in first, and he thought, I'm going to come in at 6 o'clock one morning and beat him. He said, And I came in at 6 o'clock. Well, fucking Ronaldo was there. He goes, sleepy. He goes, but he must have got word he was trying to do it. I get the same sort of vibe off Marcus, that he's just absolutely dedicated to his craft. He's just absolutely committed both to Manchester United and his own development as a footballer. I know that they do some specific stuff at England that they don't quite do with United that he really enjoys, but from what I'm hearing about Marcus, he couldn't be asked to do any more. You can even see in like the sort of change in his body composition from the skinny lad that made his debut to the absolute beast that he is now. He's put on some serious size, he's put on some serious muscle, and I think you're going to really see the benefits of all of that. And probably this break has done him some good because he's played more than anybody else since his debut at United prior to this injury. This break will be a brilliant mental break for him. I bet he's raring to go as soon as he gets the opportunity. And because of the season either being moved back, cancelled, whatever it is, he's going to come back at the same time as everybody else. I'm sure he's going to be in good shape. And I bet he's absolutely firing, raring to go. Since he broke onto the scene at 18, scoring that brace against Midtjylland, he's just continued to impress. He mashes it in the important games. And it's not just his progression as a footballer, but the progression of him as a person. I really think he's growing into potential captain material. I think he's certainly one that United should be looking at. He's definitely going to be a club ambassador and someone that the club should put behind. And he's absolutely smashing it. He's supported the club just like one of us. During this time that he's been out and been injured, he's been doing exactly what you would like to see from an injured player. He's getting behind the lads. He's enjoying the moments, watching the team win. Not only that, but getting involved with the fans and stuff like that. It's been sensational. Number 4, he cares about the club and the fans. Marcus joined United's academy at age 7 years old, and he's literally only ever played for one club. He did have a little bit of time at Fletcher Moss, which is a little Saturday side in Manchester that's got a weird knack for producing amazing footballers, certainly for a Saturday League team. But the only professional football club that Marcus Rashford has worn the shirt of is Manchester United. He's a supporter. He's someone from the local area. He cares. He understands. He knows what it's about to put the shirt on. He's been trained for this moment, and I know that's an obvious way of saying it, but he's been trained for this moment since being a kid. They've put these things into him. They've put all of this sort of like expectation into him. He's been told from being this tall, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, David Beckham, Gary Neville, following their footsteps. And he's doing it. It's obvious to see the passion that he's got when he's on the pitch, when he scores the goals. His celebrations are the most authentic you could see. I mean, perhaps Agallo's come close, but you know what it means to him. The big games, he's not only has he delivered, which is massively important, the way in which he's delivered, the way in which he gets a grip of it, and the things that he says afterwards. He's always said the right thing. I don't think they've spoken to him enough, and maybe that's a good thing because it's allowed him to grow with as little spotlight on him as possible. But when they've spoken to him in the post-match interviews, everything that he said has been perfect. Off the pitch, we've seen a lot of United players criticised for the way that they use social media, but I think in the last 6 months or so, Marcus Rashford's use of social media has been an absolute major positive for both himself and probably for the club as well. As I mentioned earlier, there's the obvious good luck messages and celebrations for the club and the team when they're doing success, but there's also interaction with fans. So many times he drops a little bit of a message of support. We shared something the other day of Stretford Paddock scoring a goal, which he replied to. He's replying to people on social media constantly, giving them encouragement. We've seen what he's doing with the deaf children, with the BBC. We've seen all of these little interviews that he's doing with kids and stuff like that. He is being a perfect role model. And I don't think footballers need to be a role model. But if they choose to be, it can be a massive positive for the society and their fans and all the rest of that sort of stuff. While this pandemic's been going on, he's made sure that 400,000 children in Manchester are still getting their free school meals. Marcus was someone that benefited from school meals while he was a kid, so he understands that sometimes parents are going through some extreme hardship, and he took it upon himself to make sure that while everyone's not at school, they're still going to be receiving their free meals. 400,000 kids. He's raised, or helped to raise, with the Fair Share thing, £20 million. Obviously, we supported him and the charity podcast, the In the Box campaign in Manchester over Christmas. We, as a channel, raised £4,000, which went to that In the Box campaign. He's supporting this city, and he's doing it with love and positivity. He's down to earth. He's humble. He gets the club. He gets the morals of this place. He gets what it's all about. He's one of us that's giving back and making this fucking community stronger. And he's absolutely living the dream. Number 5, is he a future captain? Now, we've seen young players come with character. Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney. You obviously saw Ryan Giggs break through as a skinny teenager, very quiet in a similar sort of sense that Marcus is, but extremely professional on the pitch. Can Marcus Rashford go on and become a captain of this club? I don't see him going around bollocking people the way you would Harry Maguire has really stepped up to recently in recent weeks. The way Bruno is literally telling people where to go and what to do on the pitch. He has won the armband already at the age of 22. It was in a defeat against Manchester City, but I think probably a lot of pride comes from him wearing the captain's armband as a Manchester lad in a local derby. Solskjaer seems to be giving him responsibilities like this. And because of that grounding that he's got, I think he takes it in his stride. And I don't think it gets to his head. I think he just has got a world-class attitude on and off the pitch. And I think he might be a leader in a different way. Ryan Giggs became a leader on the pitch by example of how he lived and the things that he did to prolong his career off the pitch. And he was the obvious choice to be the captain on many occasions. And you've got your Rio Ferdinand types. Those that are and Cantona even. Cantona may be a little bit different, but because I think he's got way more of a presence than currently Marcus has got, but I don't know if Cantona had that age 22. Maybe he developed that. You've obviously got your Brian Robson, your Steve Bruce, your Roy Keane sort of leaders. But who's to say Marcus isn't the sort of leader, especially when you look at the youngsters that are coming through, your Brandon Williams, even Wan-Bissaka and people like that. They're looking at Marcus and seeing someone who hit the heights before they did, someone that they can emulate, someone that they can look up to. Again, both of what he's doing on and off the football pitch. I think there's a very real chance that there's a captain in there. As we've mentioned, like the charity work, the fact that he gives a shit about the community, that he gives back to the community, that he supports the club when he's injured and he's not playing. I think there's something else that you can add to that as well. Recently, he has been giving those interviews while we've been on lockdown. And one of the things that we saw that I think goes an absolute long way is, he was talking about Mason Greenwood, 12 goals so far in his debut season. Marcus full of praise for him. He said Mason Greenwood potential rating 10 out of 10. Potential rating out of 10, 10 out of 10. As a forward, there's not much else you can ask for in terms of natural ability. I think for someone like Marcus, who's only 22 himself, to have the confidence to be able to just lift up somebody, because I know footballers can be a little snide, especially when it comes to people in their position. They want to put them down because it is competition for them. But the maturity in Marcus there and the pure love that he's got for his teammates, to be able to just be like, oh, this guy's just the most natural guy. I think that shows a man that's very secure. I think that's got some serious leadership potential. I think the way his career has started in 4 short years, he's already scored a lot of goals. He's not far off being in the top 20 or 25 goal scorers in United history in 4 years. There's some absolute legends that he's already chased down in terms of goal scoring. If he finishes his career here, he will end up as captain. If he finishes his career here, I think he ends up in the top 5 all-time Manchester United goal scorers. I think he has to take something to the next level, which Wayne Rooney had, which obviously Bobby Charlton had, which Dennis Law had, which Ronaldo shown in the short time that he was here. And that is being able to show the sort of world-class performance that we've seen from him this season, which has been world-class. And he has to do it over a decade. He needs to carry this form that he's had from this season until he's 30, 31, 32. And if he does, when he finishes, if he's done his whole career at Manchester United, I think Marcus Rashford will have a handful of Premier League titles, 100 caps for England. He'll have worn the captain's armband for several years as Manchester United captain, and I think he's in the top 3 of our all-time leading goal scorers. Getting to that number 1 spot, that's tough. If he has a season like this every single year, he'll do it. But to get past the absolutely phenomenal tally that both Wayne Rooney and Bobby Charlton have achieved is going to take a lot of work. But how much would we love to see him do it?